Never-ending story. La 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 la. Never-ending story. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it in Matt's Honda Pilot, in the parking structure right next to the movie theater. We're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you snack during it? Do you need to pay attention? Can you bring your kids? Could you bring a date? Should you go alone? We don't know. We're going to talk about it or not talk about it. We're going to let our feelings fly, and, you know, wherever they land is where they land. I am Todd Dover.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and my feelings are flying high after this one, Todd. I don't know what I'm feeling even. But, yeah, we saw a movie. This movie is called The Boy and the Heron. It is about a boy and a heron. And much, much more. But first, Tim, is there anyone famous in this movie? This is an animated movie, so it's kind of a...
There's not. This is a Japanese animation movie, and the director, however, is well known. His name is Hayao Miyazaki. He's known for many of the movies he's released that have had American success over the years, and this is just his latest one.
There you go. So, yeah, our second consecutive movie in Japanese with subtitles. Our last one being Godzilla -1. But here we are.
If you're listening to this chronologically.
Yes, as everyone should.
Yeah.
Start at the beginning.
What are you doing if you're not? Come
Yes.
on. Start when they were 5 minutes long, and now they're like 25 minutes long.
Yes. So, so what's this movie about?
Well, that is a deep question.
That is a very deep question. So, I'll paint this with pretty broad strokes, because I think you lose. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you lose a lot from.
I also think the only consensus that I came out of the movie is that this movie took place during World War II Japan era.
Yes. Which also, like Godzilla -1.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Right. So, yes, it takes place during World War II, and it focuses on a boy named, what's his name? Mahito. Yeah, it focuses on him. He's the boy and the heron, and we meet him in Tokyo, and his mother works at a hospital, and the hospital's on fire, and
I don't know what's happening next to us, but this woman is crawling into, I hope it's her car.
She seems to have turned the car on with her phone and is looking for something.
Right. Yes. It's always an adventure here in downtown Laurel.
There's a mini car show behind us where now they're like turning on the cars, and they're all souped up Honda Civics.
Yes.
This is an interesting day.
It is an interesting day. Well, anyway, so back to Boy and
Heron.
And his heron?
No, Boy and the Heron.
A Boy and the Heron, yes. Right. Okay, so
in Japan.
He's in Japan, he's in Tokyo, his mom dies in a hospital fire, and then he ends up moving out to the countryside after, I guess, a couple years.
4 years, I think, to be exact.
Yeah, where his father is now marrying the sister of his dead wife. So the father is now married the aunt of the boy, Mahito. No. Mahito? Mahito. Not Mojito. That's something completely different. Mahito. So Mahito is here in the countryside now with his stepmom, who's also his aunt, and she's going to have a baby, and that is when he starts seeing the heron. The heron shows up. The heron is much more sort of gregarious than most herons.
Yes.
And seems to be sort of trying to form a relationship with Mahito. And then, at some point the heron starts talking, and we learn the heron might not be just a heron. And then...
we're off to the races.
Well, I guess the next sort of salient point is that his aunt mother disappears, and he goes on kind of a journey to find her.
Journey is definitely.
And he goes to a nearby magical tower and is transported to other worlds, and there's various guide people along the way. And, it's really unexpected what happens almost at every turn from there. Adventures ensue, and eventually he finds his Aunt Mother, and everyone lives happily ever after, or do they? Yes.
Depending on your interpretation.
Depending on your own interpretation, yes. So that's really all I can say about it. This is one where a plot summary is not going to help you enjoy the movie, and too detailed of a plot summary will detract from, I guess, your experience. Yeah. So I'll leave it with that, and I'll say, Todd, have you ever owned a pet heron? Do you want to? And what are your feelings about this movie?
I don't know. The pet heron in this movie really freaked me out at times, so I don't know if I want that floating around my house. Okay. This is going to be a hard one because there's a lot of good things going for this movie. Like, I'm sure we're all going to land on, well, maybe, I don't want to be presumptuous, but that this is a beautiful movie. Like, all these movies from Miyazaki is. Like, and that's, like, no matter what, even if I'm not connected with the movie, I can still be taken away by the movie because of his style. Yeah. And typically his movies surround around a war, either a real war or like a fictional war in another world. And most of his movies are kind of like, drawing parallels to like other worlds and war and stuff like that.
Definitely,
and this is
storyteller.
Yeah, this falls in line with what I feel like is typically part of his movies, except for I felt the biggest drawback for me in this movie was there is nothing like spelled, like you just don't know, like nothing is like ever truly talked about. Holy crap, this woman. Now her alarm is going off in case you can hear that in the background.
She doesn't have keys.
Right.
I think she's got everything but keys.
Yeah.
So
she's able to open the door. She's able to. Anyway,
we're gonna push through.
Yep.
So that's distracting during the movie. Is that like, you're not given? I mean, you're kind of given an idea of what's happening, but everything is thrown at you so fast, and it's like. So I felt myself going through the same range of emotions of, this is beautiful. I'm in. This is weird. You're losing me. Like now I'm really lost. I can't follow what's happening. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm back in. Like, I felt that cycle through the entire movie. And I at no point was I like, do I want this to wrap up? I'm done with this. Like, I was there for the whole movie. But I just felt like, opposed to some of the other movies that Miyazaki has made, I felt like this one was undescribed. Like, you just move from one thing to another, and near the end, you get a loose idea, kind of what's happening, but nothing super solid. And and that was a distractor for me. Like, I still thought it was a good movie. I still thought it was very, very beautiful. I'm interested in watching it again with the English cast. We saw it in subtitles. But I think for most people, if you're a fan of Miyazaki films, you're going to go see this no matter what. Is this a movie you should take a kid to? I don't know. Your kid will be real lost. It is like Miyazaki films sometimes are very, very comparable to Disney films in the sense that sometimes you're just thrown into a Disney world and there's not really an explanation. You just kind of go with it. And this is like one of those examples. So, I enjoyed it. I will be mulling it over in my mind for a while at this point. But I would say if you're interested at all, I was very pumped to see this movie. And I'm not walking out disappointed. I'm walking out a little bit more confused than I would like to be. But I was there for the ride, and I enjoyed most of it. I wish I had gotten a little bit more. I wish things were a little bit clearer. But, it was there, and I'm enjoying my time in it. So I would recommend it, I guess. Like, you know, if you're a kind of person who needs things exactly spelled out, you need to know exactly what's happening at all times, this is not the movie for you. But in general, I would say go see this movie. I like to support movies like this, and because I want to see more of them. So I would say if you're in the same boat as me, absolutely go see it. Absolutely go see it in theaters. It's a beautiful enough movie that I think it's going to warrant a theater viewing. But, you know, that's going to be me. I think if you can let go and not think about the hows and the whys and the super spelled out what's going on, then, you know, let yourself just get caught up in the whimsical nature of these movies. Like, let yourself go a little bit, which is really hard for me to do. So I understand why, like, I couldn't do that. But if you're a person who can, just let yourself get swept up, like, and enjoy it. So I'm going to recommend it. I think, you know, there is a certain audience that's going to see this no matter what that we say. But if you're on the fence about it, I say go see it. You know, I think this is one of the movies where several different people can see it, and each person has a different idea of what's going on and kind of, you know, what the meanings are and stuff like that. And that's interesting talking points to me. So I say go see it. That's where I'm going to land. Tim?
I am in the same boat as you, Todd. Now, I have not seen that many Miyazaki films, but I, of course, read about him and know about him. Yeah, his style is unmatched. The visuals are fantastic. It's this blending of 3D, like anime drawings mixed with like painting, like canvases that are gorgeous to look at, and yet they somehow move too. It's just like like you said, your eyes are gripped the entire time by something's going on or the way something's drawn, and it's a mixture of realistic drawing and then also fantastical, totally cartoon only kind of stuff, and it's hard to. You just get swept away by these visuals that he clearly works a lot on and you know, spends most of his effort on making it look good and sound good, and it's just, yeah, there's a visual feast going on. You're right, this one in the story, this is very much a open to interpretation kind of story where you could get all kinds of different things from it. I mean, I would say the themes of it are definitely like loss and dealing with destiny and like what you're meant to do with your life and stuff like that, which is all, you know, universal questions we all have anyway. And that's where it reached me when some of the things it was going for. Was it clear the whole time? No. There are times where you're just throwing some stuff and you just go, whoa, okay, sure. But like you said, because everything's so great to look at, you kind of want to see where this journey's taking you, even if it zigzags all over the place into what is this? So like you don't get bored, you don't let your mind doesn't get a chance to wander because there's just so much to look at. So it's a fascinating movie. I wouldn't say it's you know, a great amazing movie, but it's definitely worth your time. And I like you said, the theater experience really enhances these visuals. Yeah, sure, it'll be fine on a home screen, but like that's something about the theater experience just always enhances a movie like this.
Yeah, it's also not the. It's definitely, to me, not the best Miyazaki film. No. Like, so.
No, but it's nice to look at, and I would even argue the music was nice. It's a lot of simple piano themes at times, and it just adds to it. And like I said, you can tell this is a guy who crafts an entire movie experience and takes his time in making it really come together. Matt.
Well, so I haven't seen any of these movies by this director, and I am happy with what I saw tonight.
Yes,
it was,
might make you open a door there for you.
Yeah, and not that I was closed to those. I just,
of course,
you know, they had never come across my film palette to this point. But I will say that echoing similar things, really beautiful. And I thought it was interesting because in some ways, in reflecting on it, I think back to the movie Wish that we saw, Disney's Wish, and how they handled the animation. There were some similarities, but I just thought that like everything that Disney got wrong in Wish, in this movie, this is what it's supposed to look like. and just like so well done with
Yes.
with the mixtures of different types of animation, just really
Like I said, paintings come to life at times. It
Yes.
seemed like, it's
yes,
great.
really really beautiful. And another highlight for me was the sound.
Yes.
I just thought that not only was the music just fitting and well done and well matched to where they were in the story, the sound effects were really kind of juicy and
Yeah.
like just little things that I would just be like, oh, that's just what that should have sounded like.
Yes, yeah.
Almost
spends
taking
time
me
on
out
it.
of there just
Yeah.
like listening to the sound effects of the boy picking up a bag or something, and it just sounds right.
The details, yeah.
So yeah, I would say this is a movie of details. This is a movie of focusing on detail in a technical way that's really a superior effort. Now the plot takes me a couple different ways.
Yeah.
I thought that the beginning of this movie was a little bit slow to start.
I'll agree with that.
Agreed.
There's a lot of him getting to know the bird before the bird even talks to him. There's a lot of sort of attempts at connection and things like that. And that part of the movie is just very slow. And then we really pick up the pace. And that is where my love of absurdity and absurd things
Yes.
comes into play, because there is plenty of just wild stuff that
Yeah.
comes out of someone's imagination and is just spilled out there on the screen.
It makes me wonder if he purposely slowed it down like that so that when the journey began, you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like it was like it just, now that I think about it, it's almost like it was purposely just, here's a very basic start and then wham.
Yes. So, and then, towards the end, it really picks up, and it's very complicated in theme and in plot. And yeah, there's times where you just barely are holding on to like, what are we even doing? What is the thread here? And then everything gets resolved and wrapped up, and you may not come away knowing exactly how you got there, but I think you do come away with at least a feeling of peace about where everyone ended up, which is much better for me than coming away from being like, well, wait, what happened to everyone? I want to know, like, what happened after this plot that we just enjoyed. That's not the case here. They do a good job of wrapping it up. So yeah, did I like it? I liked it. I thought it was a nice piece of filmmaking. And aside from the pretty slow start, I enjoyed myself throughout. Certainly the last half of the movie, I was very, very engaged and focused on what was going on. So.
Absolutely. Like, glued to the screen.
Yes.
Still confused on what's going on, but
Right.
I was eating it up. Like,
Right,
I
yeah,
was
like you said,
I
it
can't get enough of what's happening
It
right
wasn't
now.
a what are we doing? You've lost me. It's a what are we doing? I'm strapped in. Let's do this.
Yeah, so that's me.
Nice. Well, getting down to business here. How many... There's a lot.
There's so many things to pick from.
I'm going to say, how many king parakeets would you give this movie?
That's just what I was thinking of.
badly.
The Parakeet King.
Parakeet King. 0 being the worst, because then you have none, and what the heck. But then 5 being the best, because then you got 5 of them, and that's just a party. So,
Kingdom and
yeah, Matt?
Well, like I said, I really enjoyed this, and the Parakeet King was a highlight of the movie. I'm gonna go with 3.9 Parakeet Kings out of 5.
Nice.
I really thought that this movie was well done, and really the only detraction for me was the slow start. I thought everything else was just so nice and so weird, and that's for me. That's a movie for me. So
It really is.
yes. So yeah, 3.9 for me.
Nice. Tim?
I am right at a 3.5. Again, like you said, visuals outstanding. If you know Miyazaki, this is up your alley. And even if you don't, it's a worthy ride. Todd.
Nice. I'm right there. I landed on the 3.7 before you guys gave your numbers. It's almost like I would compare this movie a little bit, and I think I've done this a lot in the past, so I gotta move on to another movie to compare it to. But this movie kind of reminded me of Everything All at Once, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, in the sense that
I thought that too.
it's absolutely ridiculous and it's hard to follow at times, but you are just caught up in this whimsical ride. I mean, this movie is a little bit more whimsical than the other movie, but you're caught up in the ridiculousness, you're caught up in the story. Even though I was so lost at times, when we were off to the races, I was craving so much more. I just was like, I was eating it up. And if this was more spelled out like a Princess Mononoke, which I think is my favorite Miyazaki film, if this was more spelled out like a movie like that, where it's not so filled with question marks, I could easily see a movie like this being like super high rated, like very much like almost a 5, like or even a 5. So I mean, like, I definitely support it. I definitely say go see it and form your own opinion. I'm sure we'll be talking about this movie for a while, and what everyone took out of it, and that's probably the point of the movie, is that everyone could take.
It got nominated for Golden Globe best movie, and I'm sure it'll get an Oscar consideration too.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, and honestly, this was because I can't even remember the last Miyazaki film that came out, but
I don't either.
This was like, almost to me, this is like showing, and I know that's not the point of the movie, but this is showing Disney how it's done. Disney's experimenting with their animation so much and going into like cell technology and stuff like that. And this is like a blend of high-end technique and
some old school animation,
but then also old school. Like, it's a nice blend of everything that I just feel like Disney has not been able to do. And
this guy's been doing it in Japan for how long now? 20 years.
Long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I couldn't get enough, and I hope people go see this. So
great. All right. Well, any last thoughts?
I have a great thought, but I'm not going to share it on the podcast. So.
Okay.
I will chime in with, if we're comparing it to other movies, another one I would say it's in the vein of, at least as far as visuals and just taking you on a journey, What Dreams May Come.
True. There's a reason why I sang Never Ending Story, because this also kind of reminded
another good
in the sense that once Sebastian goes into the world, you're off to the races and nothing makes sense anymore. Like, you're learning as you go.
I agree.
And there's a place in the world for those movies. Like, to just get caught up in the whimsical nature of the movie, leave the world behind, and just take a trip.
Yep, that's definitely what this movie did.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed the movie A Boy and the Heron.
Yes.
It's really A Boy and the Heron. I don't think there's
so.
a.
Yeah, I think, A Boy.
Boy and the Heron.
Yes.
Got
there
it.
It is.
All right. Thank you for that correction. I will update the spreadsheet accordingly.
As you should.
Well, we gave it an average rating of 3.7, which was Todd's rating, so he gets a perfect score for this podcast. And we definitely recommend that you see it, and we think you'll like it. We think you'll be confused, but you'll still like it because it's pretty. So thank you for listening to this podcast and any other ones that you've listened to, hopefully in chronological order.
Yeah.
And
sorry about the background noise in this one. Yeah. There's been a lot.
It's been wild here, but we still appreciate you persevering and listening and subscribing and downloading and all those things. Keep on doing those things, and we will see you next time.
Da 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 da.
Da da da.